Alright, Diablo 4 Spiritborns. What's the build for Season 8 that everyone's got their eye on after the PTR testing? Well, this is going to be the update to the build, and you can see we just one-shot the brand new Mega Boss Belial. You can see it taking for billions, but again, remember, it ticks quite fast, so there's multiple ticks that are going to be happening here because the tick kind of applies and gets removed instantly. So for starters, let's go over one of the very important things is that you can actually play this build two different ways. You can solely rely off of the boss powers, which I'll be honest, most builds are going to be doing in Season 8, or you can actually play it with Andariels with just a quick little swap here. But let's go over these skills, how we play them, and I'm going to be showing you guys you can play the build with multiple different core skills. However, if you are playing the Andariel variants, Quill Volley just has the best lucky hit chance because remember, it's going to be shooting out multiple of these feathers. But let's go ahead and go over it because they're basically the same here. Just the gear is a very simple swap. But for starters, in terms of the skills, we're using the Hunter. We're going to be using Quill Volley or any core skill that you enjoy. I really would recommend either Quill Volley or the Gorilla Fist. Those ones just kind of feel the best. And then Gorilla will actually knock down, granting barriers, and you get this little overlap as well. And then we also have Scourge to give us more damage to crowd control targets. And we're always going to be crowd controlling because we run the Centipede as our main Spirit Hall. And then we have Armor Hide, which will activate a bonus for more HP, but it also gives us Perma Unstoppable, which is pretty much great because, well, we have this over here, so it's going to grant us those resolve stats. And then we have Counterattack. Counterattack is fantastic because it just gives you that passive chance to dodge. And then we have Ravager, which is going to increase our ferocity and also kind of lets us teleport. It's really, really nice. It's one of my favorite things in the entire game for the Spiritborn over here. As far as the Spirit Halls, we are going to be playing the Centipede. This is going to apply a slow and a damage over time. This damage over time, however, does not need to be scaled. Technically, we just stacked like generic multipliers, but pretty much the damage mainly comes from the boss power, or if we want to run Andariels, that can be an option as well. And then for the secondary spirit, we can also play Gorilla. I just like it because once you have 5 stacks of Resolve, we become unstoppable forever, which basically means no frozen, no feared, no stun, knocked to the ground. There's just none of this little like negative stuff that happens to your character. So I really enjoy running this on pretty much every Spiritborn build. And then for the gear, this is what we are running. So we are going to be running the Air of Perdition in the helmet. Obviously, if you're playing Andariels variant, you're going to want to run Andariels. The critical strike chance, it's kind of weird because you normally would think, well, it's a dot build, why would you want crit? There's a special key passive that kind of activates, and we want all of this crit to actually go into it. For the most part, you really don't need to get very much crit in the build because you will get a base of 5 plus the boss powers will give you a 70. So right there you have 75 without anything, and then once you start getting your stats here and there, it kind of just slowly adds up. But if you need to get a little bit more crit somewhere, by all means go for it, but you should be able to hit 100% crit quite easy. And you can see we're actually swapping to the Gorilla Fist as well. So again, you can kind of play it flexible, but if you are playing Andariels, you definitely want Quill. Like, there's no question about that. But anyways, in the helmet, yeah, that, like I said, the critical strike chance is what you want if you're playing non-Andariels. And then Shroud of False Death on both of them. This is what you want to ideally play. Getting all stats or maximum life, those are both great things to get. And then we run the aspect of Intercom. There's also, if you want to run Unyielding Hits, that's also another great one. But if you are playing the Andariels variant, you would then swap this to a Fist of Fate, and you want lucky hit chance. So those are the only real swaps. Again, other than that, pretty much everything is going to be copy and pasted here. And then we run Interdiction over here, and ideally we want to try to get armor because we don't run Harlequin, so we need armor in some form, so it can be on your amulet, you can get it in your pants, you can also get it in your boots. Armor is good because, well, you need to be armor capped here, and then you can run diamonds or more skulls, depending on your rolls. If you get like a GA all res, that's fine too. But we're running Intercom over here, then we're running Interdiction, and then we're also running Duelist to give us more ferocity. And then we're also running the aspect of Creeping Death so we can get all these other bonuses in terms of multipliers. And wherever we can, we want to get that critical strike damage there. That's going to be tempered on the offensive category, so that means your weapons and your amulet. You want this pretty much everywhere you can. You want to masterwork the crit strike damage, either the main one or the one that is the temper. Most of the time, tempers will give you like the higher numerical stats, but honestly, just getting it there is good. And then for the Quill variant, obviously you want Quill Volley projectiles to cast twice. It's really not that big of a deal, but if you're playing the Crushing Hands and you want Crushing Hands to get the extra overlap, it's a very, very small thing. Keep in mind, this does not deal the damage. Unless you're playing Andariels variant, then you want as many Quill Volley projectiles as possible. But if you're just playing it for the Crushing Hands variant, the extra bonus in the weapon, it doesn't really matter too much. You get another overlap, which can cause another bonus, but for the most part, it's not as big of a deal to get those things masterwork. It's just mainly getting the critical strike damage as high as possible. Then we play Redirected Force, so we gain extra critical strike damage equal to our block chance. And this is something that's very important for all the variants. You want to make sure you're playing a quarterstaff. A quarterstaff will give you an implicit for block chance, and this is how you will get an additional bonus here. And then we want to run the 2 unique rings surprisingly here. So Ring of the Midday Hunt. How it works is our maximum vigor is increased by 50%, so we want to stack as much of the vigor as possible with the build. You can even play Tibalts, but it is going to make the build very squishy, just as a heads up. And then we're only wanting that because the maximum vigor gets increased by 50. It just gives you the biggest numerical stats. It's kind of an update to what we were playing, but honestly, if you want to play with Ring of Starless Skies and other rings, that's totally fine as well. But I was even talking about these because it's like a 50% bonus. Even when I was still in the earlier stages of the PTR, we were trying out a couple different things. But Midday Hunt is definitely great because if you're at like 200 plus Spirit and you get another plus 100, 100x more damage, is really good. But remember, it gives you like 3% per point, so it's like 150x just for this ring. The rest of the stats on attack speed's good, but the rest of it doesn't really matter that much. And then we have the Midnight Sun. So what this does is when you critically strike, which in this build is 100% crit, because of the boss powers, you just get, again, flat 70. You get to regain up to 50% of the vigor you've spent in the last 2 seconds. So basically, I know you guys might not be able to see it if you blink, but we're out of spirit, then we go back. This is what causes it, and we want to spend as much as possible because what's going to happen is we're going to get one of the boss powers. So this is it for the gear. Now I want to move into the boss powers right now. So the boss powers are pretty important because this is a big source of damage. So for the main boss power, we play Ashava's Poison Breath. Then we play Andariels. This is why the burn is so good. If you want to run Quill, Quill is really good for this one and specifically because it hits so many times with the Quill Volley. As far as I'm aware of though, if you get the ones that return, I don't know if that actually regs on these boss powers. It is something that I didn't get to fully test, but if someone has tested it, let me know and I will update it. But as far as I'm aware of, the returns don't get like a lot of the bonuses. Like I believe even back in the day, they didn't get like the overpower or like there's a lot of bonuses where they just wouldn't register for some reason. So if they fix that bug, or I don't know if that's intended or what, but if they fix that, then you definitely want the return. But we also have Hatred's Embrace, like I mentioned before. This is how we just max out. We want to make sure we get max shadow res, which you can just throw in diamonds in your piece of gear or run amethyst. You definitely want to cap out on your shadow res for this. You don't really need to cap out all your resistances, to be honest, in Diablo 4, but armor is a must. And then we run Avarice Explosive Bar. So this, you get a 3.5, well, it's 3.4 something multiplier per resource spent. When we activate our main boss power, it drains everything. And then this is how we essentially get to get a lot of our bonuses here. That's why we want to run the ability to get like 300 max resource. It goes crazy with this, and that's kind of essentially all our damage. That's why we played these. This is the newest update here. And I put a bunch of notes if you want to run other things, that's totally fine as well. But now, let's move into the Andariels variant, which, again, if you want to swap it, it's just Andariel's Helm and Fist of Fate. That's it. That's all you need to do. If you want to play the Gorilla, just run the Gorilla Fist instead of the Quill Volley. That's all you need to do. But on Andariels, I 100% will tell you guys, Quill Volley is way, way, way better. The lucky hit chance is just too good on it. As far as the skill tree, I'm trying to make this bigger for you guys. So for starters, the first 2 points really don't matter. If you're playing Quill, there is one that extends the range over here, but if you are playing the Andariels, you want to run Advantageous to get 3 additional feathers, which means more lucky hit chance. Remember, the damage doesn't really matter from this. All your damage is either from Andariels or the boss power here. So this one or this one, depending on what build you're playing. And then we just get this thing where you want the extra vigor generation, so this way one of your rings can roll a little bit bad. And then you just get this, all this increased damage that you normally would get. I really like getting this one over here. Measured Ravager lets you teleport towards your target. That's how we have infinite teleports with our build. And then we just get kind of the generic things. You want to run at least 1 into Fueled, so you gain increased life on kill equal to your, 5% of your max life while you have Ferocity, because that is a bonus that will activate once you have your bonus with Nourishment, so your healing's increased, and then whenever you heal, your poison damage just gets increased. So that's why you masterwork that on one of the rings. And then we max out counterattack. Honestly, you only need 1 point in here, but there's really nothing else to put points into that I felt like was really good here. Because remember, the build itself does not deal damage. Now, Potent over here, this increases, since we do technically hit with Jaguar, even though we don't really deal damage with our Jaguar skills, it just makes the enemy take more damage. Whereas like these other ones that say Eagle skills, well, we don't really do damage with the Eagle skills. The poison that we get is from our boss power, so it doesn't really count. But this is just generic damage here, so that's why we take that one. And then let's go ahead and move down to the final one, so we get all these bonuses for the elites. Again, if you want to remove points out of like the dodge and get resolution, that's totally fine because it's going to give you some more damage. We max out the hunter, which gives us crazy amounts of damage versus injured, and then noxious resonance. So this is why we stack as much crit as possible with the build. So our critical strikes cause the poisoning on an enemy to burst, dealing 100% of the poison instantly to them, and then it also does damage to the surrounding target. So if you group up the enemies, yeah, you can get some crazy pops, and the damage gets increased by 30x of your critical strike damage bonus. So that's why it's so dang powerful. Also, important thing with the runes, because this actually ties into it. So we run Igni Q. We need to have some way to gain barrier, and this is the easiest way, unless you want to play Gorilla skill. This is our easiest way to just gain barrier. It's so good. And then we run Pock and Cax. This is why our resources just keep on going like crazy like that. So we're getting all these bonuses because we're going to be spending all of our resources every single attack. It is absolutely fantastic. And once you start getting in the flow of things, your thing will just be a ping pong ball for your resources. Like it'll go back and forth very fast. Now, as far as the Paragon board, there are going to be some options. If you are going to be playing the Gorilla one, you want some source of exploit, so that will apply vulnerability. So here's the ones that we run. We run Bane, because this is mainly based off of poison. So we run Bane, Fitness. We also, the reason why I want this is all because of crit, not necessarily the Vigor generation, but that does help. And then we also run Menagerist, so it just gives us generic damage over here. And then we run Spirit for more crit. Again, we want to stack crit every single spot that we can. And then we run either Canny or Exploit. If you want to play the Gorilla Fist, then you run Exploit. If you're playing the version with the Quill Volley, and the reason why is because we need a source of vulnerability, and our source of vulnerability is specifically with the enhanced one, which makes the enemies vulnerable instantly with this. But if you want to play the Gorilla Fist, that's where you need to apply the vulnerability somewhere. So we start off with Bane over here because it's the poison, and then we get the Fitness one, so increased damage. This is why we want to have the barriers over there. And then we move on to the next one, which is going to be Sapping, so we get to get another multiplier over here. And then we go into Convergence, which gives us bonus damage equal to the amount of like the highest amounts, and all non-physical will count as the poison, cold, fire, lightning. It'll give you everything. And then we move on to the very final one, which is going to be Revealing. So we actually already apply a slow to the crowd controlled for the crowd control bonus, and the reason why is our Centipede Spirit Hall automatically applies a poison and a slow to the enemy, so we will always get this 30x bonus, and then it has a lucky hit chance to knock down, and it's pretty good if you happen to get the knockdown. The stagger bar actually goes up quite fast. I don't know if we're at a boss over here, but the stagger bar goes up quite fast sometimes, and you can just knock down things, even the elites over here. But then we again run Canny because we're going to be dealing that non-physical damage, and the non-physical damage will then proc the bonus here. But honestly, most of the non-physical stuff can be reached pretty comfortably without like really trying to focus in on it too much for the build. But anyways, guys, that is going to be one of the Spiritborn builds to be on the lookout for. I'll update you guys if things change, but this looks like to be one of the top tier builds for the Spiritborn in the next upcoming season. But who knows, maybe we'll end up getting things changed and we'll go back to the Radicupilike again. But anyways, if there's updates, I will update the planner down below, but I want to have all of the build guides ready for you, so when Season 8 does drop, I'll just have to like, give you guys some small updates versus dropping 50 videos at once. So I'll start to release them slowly, but we're almost done with all of like the top tier builds for Season 8. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. If you are new here and you do want to see an update to this build, if things do change, I will update the planner, but subscribe if you are new and you want to see an update to that, as well as future builds, and I will link the planner down below as well as in the link in the bio. But take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have fun, Spiritborns.